Well, here we are again. Don't push the needle up in your arms, Lock Dog.
Oh, wow, okay. That's how we're starting this.
Welcome back to the Academy series with Inside Out Coaching and Consultancy Collective for the Inside Out's podcast, proudly sponsored by Killer Moe. Shout out to the big dog, Dan Smith, up in Moana Beach. Well, you're here with me, Danny Lloyd, the man that took the I out of addict and put the Y in you.
And you're here with your boy, the Lock Dog.
And we are here for another Academy episode where we hope to continue to educate you on the University of Life so that you can understand the ins and outs of different parts of your life and the things that you struggle with, to be given the information so that you can be informed and make the decisions that better you. With Professor Lloyd and Professor Lock Dog.
Yeah, marvelous Lock Dog.
Marvelous Lock Dog.
Yeah.
So today's Academy series episode is all about triggers and transforming the triggers.
Yeah, and to clarify, it is psychological triggers, not triggers on a gun.
Yeah, we're definitely not doing the America thing.
Okay.
That was a bit.
Yeah, there we are.
No.
I'm into it.
I don't think I even got a thing for that. I should have pulled out some sort of like sound effect for how bad that was. So talk to me about triggers, Lock Dog.
Well, what is a trigger? Let's start there. I think a lot of people have some understanding, their concept of what a trigger is. Something happens and it triggers or cascades. It could be emotional. Could be someone that's an ex-user.
Yep.
Something reminds them of an unwanted behavior, like using a drug. It could be a person or a place that reminds them of it, and then they get a craving, and then they find there's an impulse I want to use, and so on and so forth. I forgot the actual definition of a trigger.
Well, I mean, see, for me, it can be just about anything, to be honest. Like when I go back to my time last time in Adelaide with the kind of crystal meth addiction, it could have been a street, a car, somebody's face, a smell, a certain suburb. It could have been a certain day of the week. It could have been a certain hour of the day. So there is unlimited triggers out there that can put us into a state of fight or flight, meaning we are in a reactive behavior pattern, meaning we are not using our logical brain, we are being illogical with our decision making, and as such, the decision normally doesn't end well. So, for instance, I could have driven past the shopping centre in Paradise, and there is public toilets to the right that you can see as you go past on the main road, and I would have seen that and remembered doing meth in that toilet, and so as such would then want to go and get on the meth again.
Just a reminder of like just a place.
The same can be said in relationships.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go there for a sec. Talk about triggers in a relationship. When you're in a relationship that's not working out well.
It could just be, it could be an argument, man, like just that stress, that conflict, not knowing really how to regulate your emotions. And yeah, kind of that escapism, like this is stressful, don't want to feel how I feel, or this is a difficult situation and I need to find some relief. And especially when you have those old coping strategies like substance abuse, you tend to jump there first because it's always worked well in the past.
Yep.
Until it doesn't.
Until it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And much the same as the metaphor of life for me when I go and do people's gardens is sometimes I turn up to gardens and they've left it for 3 months and I get there and the grass is like as tall as me nearly.
Yeah.
And I'll say, what's happening? Like with what's going on here? And they're like, oh yeah, we've got an inspection tomorrow morning, so we needed to get it done. So I was like, so you left it to the last second when you had 3 months to maybe spend maintaining it. And it's typical human behavior. We just leave it to the point it gets so bad it's almost impossible to fix, and then we pull the trigger on the trigger and say, I need to sort this out.
Yeah, I think it's, like a trigger. I think a good analogy for a trigger is, if you think of dominoes, something knocks over the first one, and it's that old pattern of behavior. Something fires off, and your body wants you to go through this behavior loop. There's been the trigger. Now I've got a thought. I've got this feeling, which could be a craving. Then I feel like I need to respond so I can get an old reward.
Yep. Yeah, it's exactly right. I actually was trying to just look up then where the word trigger even comes from.
Oh, I know that one.
Do you? What is it?
Oh, no, actually, no, I don't. Sorry, I was thinking of something else.
Well, for me, I think every time you pull the trigger on your craving, you kill your future. Mm-hmm. Whether it be sugar, drugs, alcohol, toxic relationships, bad languaging, online shopping.
Yeah.
Every time something, I tell you, a perfect example lately is social media. So basically, you're sitting there on the couch or whatever you're doing, and you feel a certain way anxiously about something. You don't bother to sit and ask why. You just reach for your phone. Yeah. You see it all the time. You go into lift spaces, and the minute you walk into a lift space with other people in there and they see you're walking in as someone else now and they're not in the lift on their own, you watch nearly every one of them reach for their phone. They're not even doing anything on it. It's like a safety blanket because they're triggered by the fact they may just have to say hello to you.
It is, and that would be a psychological, more emotional trigger. As soon as you're locked in the elevator surrounded by strangers, anxiety fires, then you go through the loop. It's a loop of behavior.
Yep. So like, for instance, if you're trying to give up smoking, all right, let's say someone on here is watching and they want to give up cigarettes. So you have to condition the environment to succeed and beat the cigarettes that you want to stop. So as such, this is just an example. If you're saying I'm going to give up cigarettes tomorrow, then the first few things you should be doing tonight is clearing all the ashtrays and throwing them out, all the lighters and throwing them out. And here's an interesting thing to do before giving up the next day. Pick a task that you've been putting off for ages, right? As a something you need to complete. And that becomes part of a ritual that you attach to then going, tomorrow I'm giving up cigarettes. Tonight I went and cleaned out that cupboard I've been putting off for months. And it becomes part of the process. That way you're setting the environment up too by getting rid of the ashtrays, getting rid of the lighters. Another great thing is to smoke all your cigarettes in one go, and you'll feel that sick. You'll never want to have a cigarette again.
Yeah, interesting.
So if I put it this way, how you think you're going to give up cigarettes tomorrow morning if when you get up tomorrow morning the ashtrays are still half full with cigarette butts, there's lighters over there. These are all triggers. These are all visual cues for you to go, I need a cigarette. To the point it would be that much of a hardship if you smoked that long that you would need to, in the short term, give up alcohol and probably coffee. Because the first thing a cigarette smoker does first thing in the morning is have a coffee with his cigarette or a cup of tea, whatever it is. So you'd have to actually those would be triggers. Coffee and tea would be triggers for a cigarette smoker. Alcohol's a massive you ask any cigarette smoker that wants to give up, if I didn't drink, I'd be able to give up cigarettes easy. Okay, well, then don't drink.
And you know what? I was just thinking, like, I definitely think there's almost like a trigger sensitivity type scale. Like, I know from watching people go from using to entering recovery, they're very sensitive to triggers in terms of it might just be a visual cue. Someone I've seen, something, or it could be something I've smelled actually, but it could be someone I've seen, or that reminds me of this, that thing happened today, like, and be very sensitive in terms of it doesn't take much. Just little reminders, little cues in the environment. But then as you kind of move through that kind of sensitive trigger phase, later on the triggers become more attached to emotions.
Yep.
Where, you can walk past people you might have used with and not think about using anymore, but there could be an argument with the partner. There could be the stress of a job.
Yep.
Things that bring up emotions, which are also deeper in that kind of the trigger.
Yep. Exactly. And being aware of the fact that things do trigger you, right? Like a lot of things can trigger people, right? I tell you, man, you want to talk about the biggest trigger in the last decade? Just say COVID.
Yeah.
That triggers people from both sides to go off on tangents around all of the things that go with that, right?
Yeah.
So the word trigger for the lever of a gun or trap was originally spelled tricker and came from the Dutch trekken, to pull. So much the same, when you're triggered by something, then it's being pulled so that you're pushed.
Yeah, so if you're the gun, someone pulls your trigger and you fire the ammunition.
Yeah.
So it's completely on you to how you respond when someone triggers you.
Yeah, exactly. You pull the trigger.
Yeah. Do you fire your bullets, or do you kind of investigate and go, well, why the hell did that trigger me so much?
Exactly.
I think triggers are such a great warning sign or an indicator to point out that actually you need to grow in this area. There's some work to be done here.
Yeah.
Like if your boss is an asshole and he's triggering you to feel like you should go and use, is that the answer, or is it that my boss is triggering me and maybe I need to work on communication? It could be confrontation, or maybe I need to find alternatives instead of going, I'm just going to go back to the old coping strategy and pick up a bong or do this or drink a lot of booze. Here's an opportunity for you to maybe improve with conflict and conflict resolution and communicating, that you're not actually accepting this from your asshole boss.
Exactly. I mean, so most triggers normally come from fear. So fear, like anxiety, comes from fear most of the time, right? Fear will drive a trigger. And what you need to be doing when you feel triggered by something is understand and talk to the fear and see it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
So looking at it and going, so I feel very triggered by this situation, much similar to what you were saying before. Why am I in fear of it, that it's triggered me? And see it as an opportunity to learn what's making you fearful so you can be fearless.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? So seeing fear as an opportunity instead of a challenge that's going to break you. And when you're triggered, looking at it and going, well, what is triggering me about this? What is the situation that I'm fearing? And then if that's what it is, what is it that I can do to improve myself in this area? And then bang, there's an opportunity. Transform the trigger.
Yeah.
Turn the trigger back on itself and fire it.
Fire it at who?
Fire it at the trigger. Wow.
It just left my head. I had something.
Did you? What did you have? Herpes?
I've got that already.
So, transforming the trigger, asking yourself why you are triggered by a person, a place, and understanding that you need to set up the environment to succeed if you're trying to escape an addiction, because you're going to get triggered by so much on the way out. And the biggest trigger of all when escaping an addiction is actually loneliness, which is actually what drives you into the addiction in the first place. Because when you get out of an addiction, all of the people that you used to think were friends, you're going to have to leave behind, which means you're going to have to be lonely. And that's going to trigger you in itself. And that's not even a tangible thing that's triggering you.
Yeah, definitely.
This is why addiction, getting out of it, no matter what it is, drugs, alcohol, sugar, coffee, all of the above and more, is so hard to do it. But if you do in life what's hard, then your life becomes infinitely easier. But if you carry on doing in life what's easy, which is avoiding the questions of why am I triggered by this fear and where's this fear coming from and how can I see it as an opportunity, then your life will stay hard. Choose your hard.
That's my favorite, man. Choose your hard.
Choose your hard. Simple as. Anyway, I hope that's given a very brief introduction into triggers, helping us understand ourselves more. I'd like to wrap that up as another Great Academy series episode of the University of Life, brought to us thanks to Killer Moe's for the sponsorship. And I'm hoping all of our Inside Out fam are working on their homework that they're given every time we talk and are transforming their lives by transforming their triggers.
Incredible. Wrap it up like a gift.
Wrap it up like a gift, you reckon?
Yeah.
Good chat.
This was brought to you by Killer Moe's.